At the beginning of the story, we see a killer who cunningly slits a man's throat with a blade, killing him instantly. But the murderer doesn't stop there. He heads straight toward his next victim. It's a woman sitting in her car, fixing her makeup. She assumes her husband has returned, unaware that death is waiting for her. A young girl standing nearby witnesses this horrifying scene with her own eyes. The next morning, the police receive a report. 2 dead bodies found inside a black car, their heads slumped forward. Soon, Detective Sam arrives at the scene and immediately notices that the method of killing looks very familiar. It matches the style of a particular man. However, his team insists that this man couldn't be the killer. He was under constant surveillance the entire night. He's locked in prison. There's no way he could have escaped to commit murder. But for some reason, Sam can't digest that explanation. He orders the suspect, Ron, to be brought in for questioning. Ron doesn't answer a single question. His arrogance deeply irritates Sam, but since there's no solid evidence against him, the interrogation becomes just a formality. As Ron leaves, he bumps into a young girl. For a moment, his true, dangerous nature flashes on his face, but he quickly composes himself, realizing that misbehaving inside a police station would be a mistake. What he doesn't know is that this girl is the same one who witnessed the murders the previous day. The girl doesn't say a word, but she keeps watching Ron intently. Years ago, Ron and another boy grew up together in an orphanage. They shared a dark bond, both were monsters inside. They enjoyed killing animals with their own hands. As they grew older, their obsession shifted from animals to humans. Killing became a game for them. The story then flashes back to those years. A detective had made it his mission to hunt them down. One night, while returning home, that detective was attacked, his throat slashed brutally. Bleeding heavily, he somehow managed to stumble home to his daughter. That little girl is none other than Hee-ju, the same girl who saw the murder the previous day. Later, Detective Sam shows up at his partner's house, holding a birthday cake, ready to celebrate his best friend's birthday. But what he sees freezes his soul. His partner is already dead. His daughter Hee-ju is still sitting beside the body, innocently waiting for her father to wake up so they can celebrate together. She doesn't even realize he's gone forever. Seeing this scene fills Sam's heart with rage and sorrow. He thought the killer might get away, but soon, Ron is caught. Several trials follow. It turns out Ron has committed 7 murders within a few months. But the police can only find solid evidence for one. Because of that, he is sentenced to just 15 years in prison. The victims' families are devastated and confused by such a light punishment. Sam is furious. This monster will be free again in 15 years. That day, he swore to take revenge, to make Ron pay for his crimes. From that moment on, Sam's heart burns with vengeance. Meanwhile, young Hee-ju engraves the killer's face deep in her memory. But while everyone is mourning, no one notices a man lurking in the shadows, except Ron. He knows exactly who it is, the one who betrayed him and got him imprisoned. It's his old friend, the very same killer we saw at the start of the story. The truth is, both of them had fallen in love with the same woman. Ron's girlfriend had been cheating on him with his friend. When Ron found out, he lost control and brutally murdered her. After that, he planned to take revenge on his friend too, but his friend John outsmarted him. John framed Ron for the murder and got him sent to prison. Now, 15 years later, Ron is finally released. The first person he meets is Sam, who's ready to send him back behind bars. Sam still hasn't forgotten what happened all those years ago. But Ron still refuses to admit his guilt. So Sam orders his team to keep a 24-hour watch on him. Afterward, Sam casually asks everyone to take out their 500 Indian rupees bills, and secretly collects all the money. A new officer suspects that their boss is pocketing the cash. But his doubts disappear when he sees Sam hand over a thick envelope to a young woman, Hee-ju, now all grown up. Over the last 15 years, since she became an orphan, Hee-ju never lived in an orphanage. The entire police department raised her together, caring for her like their own daughter. As she grew up, Hee-ju became kind, intelligent, and hardworking. Everyone at the station adored her. All this time, Hee-ju has quietly kept an eye on her mother, the woman who abandoned her. Her feelings for her mother are complicated, a mix of love and hatred. Yet she can't bear to see her mother suffer. Her stepfather, who often beats her mother, disgusts her. She can't stand the sight of him. What she doesn't know, however, is that she has never truly forgotten the face of the man who murdered her father. The moment she heard that Ron had been released from prison, she put her long-planned revenge into motion. She began watching Ron closely. One night she sensed John's presence. She noticed that the method John used to kill was very similar to Ron's style. A new plan formed in her mind: frame Ron for the murders John committed. But things didn't go exactly as planned, so she turned her attention to the next step. She decided she would kill her stepfather, the man who had tormented Hee-ju's mother for years. Hee-ju had seen her mother suffer so much that she could no longer bear it. She resolved to use her stepfather's death to trap Ron. Hee-ju had been keeping an eye on Ron and knew that he went jogging in the park every morning. She decided to drag the corpse to the park so Ron would become the prime suspect. He already had a criminal record. When Ron arrived and saw the way the man had been killed, he was shaken. He recognized the method as his own. Someone was imitating him, and now the police would come after him. He felt the real killer must be hiding nearby, and soon he noticed a person standing at a distance watching. Ron chased after him, but the man bolted away quickly. Ron was tall and used to running about 10 kilometers every day, yet despite that the small man outran him and disappeared from sight. That man was none other than Hee-ju. She wanted to see how fast Ron really was so she could refine her revenge plan. Soon, one murder after another occurred. Each killing resembled Ron's old style. But the police couldn't find conclusive evidence linking Ron to the crimes. Enraged, Sam decided to confront Ron again. He found him calmly eating noodles in a restaurant. Seeing that made Sam even angrier. In a fit of rage, Sam poured an entire bowl of chili into Ron's noodles. But Ron didn't react at all. He continued eating quietly, and when he finished he remarked to Sam, "This won't bring your partner back, right?" The law had no way to pin these crimes on him. Ron's arrogance and stubbornness only stoked Sam's fury. For a moment Sam thought, "I'll kill him, lock him up again, whatever it takes." But it wasn't so simple. Later, at his home, Ron sensed someone slowly opening the door. He immediately switched off his phone. The visitor turned out to be his old friend John. The two knew each other's moves so well that a silent struggle began between them. John said nothing because he knew Ron would be watching his every step. As John reached to open the door, Ron hurled a knife, and when John tried to press his ear to the door to listen, Ron quickly buried the blade in it. Even after years in prison, Ron's aim was dead on. John hesitated, wondering whether direct confrontation was wise. Ron's real surprise came when another guest arrived. It was Sam. The moment Sam saw Ron, anger flashed in his eyes. He suspected Ron was planning a new crime. What Sam didn't know was that someone was watching him too, two eyes as sharp as a knife. As Sam's attention shifted away from Ron, he sensed something amiss. He turned quickly toward where he had been looking, but there was no one there. A little later we see Hee-ju sitting on the rooftop of the building opposite her mother's house, quietly watching her mother. But that day something was different. There was no movement at her mother's home. She sensed that something was wrong. Gathering her courage, Hee-ju decided to go to her mother's house. There she found her mother's corpse. After her second husband's death, her mother had completely broken and had died from the grief. Seeing loved ones die one after another filled Hee-ju's heart, already full of hatred, with even more rage. She held Ron responsible for everything in her mind, and so she believed Ron absolutely had to be punished. But after discovering the presence of the other killer, John, doubt crept into Hee-ju's mind. When she examined Ron's old case files, she realized the killer wasn't just one person. Perhaps both of them had been working together. Their methods were very similar. Hee-ju quickly pulled up John's records. Because the police station was part of her daily life, she was able to discover easily that this man had filed the complaint that led to Ron's arrest. It was clear there was a connection between the two that had become so toxic they were willing to take each other's lives. Hija then made a new plan. She went to a pet store and bought a heavy iron chain meant for a fierce dog. She arranged for a truckload of empty beer bottles to be delivered to that man's house. That night she waited quietly for his return. When the man came home, the power was out. As he groped for candles in the dark, something sharp suddenly pierced his foot. Looking down, he saw that the floor was covered with shards of broken glass. As the lights began to flicker on, he looked up. Hija was standing there, waiting. "Who's there?" the man called. Hija had wired shards of glass all over the floor so they'd serve her purposes when needed. Using her sharp mind, she easily subdued the killer. Then Hija quietly dragged the body away, already knowing where to hide it. When Ron lay down on his bed to rest, he felt something strange. As soon as he pulled back the blanket, he was shocked. A corpse was wrapped up in the bed, a body with a dog's chain around its neck. The most startling thing was that the corpse was none other than John's. Someone had brutally murdered him and left him there. As Ron tried to figure out what had happened, Hija suddenly leapt at him from behind. She used another dog chain to strangle Ron, not to kill him, but to render him unconscious. She wanted to stage it so it looked like a fight between the two killers and that Ron had killed John. That way Ron would be trapped in the murder, and the police would arrest him. But things didn't go as she had planned. Ron regained consciousness a little too quickly. When the police arrived, they found the corpse in the room, but Ron was gone. They did find one clue: fresh blood on the bed. Sam saw the blood was still warm and realized Ron had not fled long ago. He was still inside the building. Sam immediately ordered the hotel locked down and began checking every room. In another room, the police discovered something strange: a man and a woman lying together in a bathtub, drenched in blood. Astonishingly, they were both still alive. The police rushed them to the hospital. When a nurse began to speak to the woman as she regained consciousness, terror showed on the woman's face. She nervously looked around, tried to point at something, but the nurse assumed she was still in shock. Meanwhile, Ron quietly intimidated her to keep her silent. That distraction gave Ron the chance to slip out of the hotel unseen, and another opportunity to kill innocent people. At the crime scene, Sam wondered how Ron had escaped. Then he noticed a smear of blood under the bed. When they lifted the mattress, they discovered that the man who had been living in that room had been killed there. Ron had already left without leaving a trace. After carrying out her plan, Hija thought that even if Ron wasn't caught immediately, he would now be a wanted killer, and things would take care of themselves. She could finally focus on fulfilling her dreams. But when she read the headline in the newspaper, she was shaken. The police had decided Ron was not the killer. They hadn't found solid evidence against him. In fact, orders had come from above to clear Ron's name because they didn't want the force to be seen as failing to catch a single murderer. People would start talking, saying the police couldn't catch a killer. Sam was not happy about any of this. Hearing it all, Hija was deeply upset. She resolved to make sure this monster received punishment for his crimes. Ron, for his part, knew the police couldn't do much to him now, but if he wanted to prove his innocence, he had to find out who kept framing him. He went to an internet cafe to look for clues. It didn't take long to learn that the man from the park was the second husband of the woman Ron had killed years ago. Moreover, the cop had a daughter, and once Ron checked her age and height, he realized she was the same girl who had attacked him. That realization ignited something in his mind. Sitting in the cafe, he lit a cigarette. When the cafe owner came over and told him to put it out, Ron shoved him away and walked out. The owner realized he shouldn't mess with this man and called the police directly. Sam was nearby and rushed over, but by then Ron had already left the cafe. Only a half-burned cigarette remained near the computer. It was still warm, so Sam concluded Ron was nearby. Wasting no time, he drew his gun and ordered everyone to stand against the wall. He began checking people one by one. Hidden in the crowd, Ron suddenly lunged at Sam and attacked. Sam dodged and ran outside, colliding with an officer on the way. The officer was a recent recruit and hesitated to fire his weapon. In that moment, Ron drove his knife into the officer's chest. Ron didn't kill him. He knew that killing a policeman in Korea would create enormous trouble. They'd search for him like dogs. So he performed a quick bandage to keep the officer alive. Then Ron went straight to the police station in Sam's own car. Seeing the vehicle, the guards even saluted him. The most dangerous place had become the safest for him. His real intention wasn't to return the car. He had come to find Heeju's address. By coincidence, Heeju was at the station. She saw Ron sneaking inside. But instead of informing the officers, she stayed quiet because she knew that even if he got caught sneaking into the police station, he wouldn't spend his entire life in jail. In a few years, he'd be out again. So, Heeju came up with her final plan. She had already realized that Ron would easily trick the police, find her address, and make her his next target. As always, Ron used his knife to quietly break into the house. But as soon as he stepped forward, the motion detector lights suddenly went out, and a shadow slowly began moving toward him. When the two finally came face to face, they attacked each other. At that moment, Heeju thought, "This is the same fear my father must have felt the moment he was stabbed." Soon, Ron admitted that yes, he was the one who had killed her father. Enraged, Heeju attacked him and tried to run away. Ron was stunned. Even after being stabbed, this girl was still running. Seeing her flee, Ron thought, "I can't let her escape." He immediately started chasing her. But strangely, Heeju didn't run into the crowded city streets. Instead, she ran toward a deserted hill. That would make it much easier for Ron to kill her. Soon, Ron caught up to her and was about to finish her off, but Heeju seized the moment, stabbed Ron, and ran again. She quickly called Sam and said, "Ron is after me. Please come quickly." Before long, Ron caught her again. But this time, he didn't hurt her. Ron knew she was raised by police officers. He wasn't planning to kill her. He wanted to gather evidence against her, frame her, and clear his own name instead. When Heeju realized his plan, she broke free again and ran toward the mountains. After a while, Ron reached a park at the top of the hill, where he saw Heeju calmly sitting on a swing. There was a determined look in her eyes. She took off her scarf, threw it toward Ron, and said, "Give this to Sam, okay?" Ron thought she had completely lost her mind. Around her neck was the same dog collar from before. He couldn't understand what was happening. Suddenly, the sound of police sirens began approaching. Heeju fastened the chain from the collar tightly around her neck and started swinging faster and faster. Looking straight at Ron, she said, "Your game is over now. You'll spend the rest of your life in jail." Then, as she swung higher, she suddenly let go of the swing. The chain snapped tight in an instant, and with one quick jerk, her neck broke. Heeju was dead. And the blame fell squarely on Ron. At that very moment, a large police team arrived. They saw Heeju hanging lifelessly, and Ron standing right in front of her. They didn't need any more evidence. Ron was immediately arrested. But seeing Heeju's lifeless body, Sam completely broke down. This was the story of a revenge that consumed many lives. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.